Hi guys, so today I wanted to show you this. So some of you might know the kind of stuff that Keri Smith, this creator, artist person does. Basically, Keri Smith, most well known for making Wreck This Journal, which was a really popular kind of journal that each page told you a new thing to do to it. Say, scribble all over it, or cut it up, or spill something on it. And the idea is you can open to any random page and just do the thing that's on the page. And it's sort of like a creativity journal. And this is an idea that I happen to really like. The idea of creativity journals. And so I looked around quite a bit for one that sounded like it would suit me. A lot of the creativity journals involve either something like what Keri Smith does, which I really admire and appreciate, which involves different kinds of medium and experiences and stuff like that. Or they just ask you a whole bunch of questions. And the question ones, like, they're okay. But I really like the ones that sort of force you to think about things. And so that's how I ran across the imaginary world of blank, which I haven't actually written my name in yet, but, I will. And so the major problem that I had with Wreck This Journal, and this isn't necessarily something that I have, a problem that I have with the way that book was done. I think it was very well thought out and planned out, and I've, flipped through it in bookstores. It's not for me. Part of this is because a lot of the steps that you are required to take to do the journal involve cutting it up, throwing it off of a roof, and I grew up in a family where we don't treat books that way, and I understand if, for the purposes of the journal, it tells you to do that, and that's great, and you're being creative, and I still have a mental block around that. I still have a mental block around cutting up a page in a book, or, a book page being torn. Recently I did a video where I had found a book on the side of the road, and I was, reading a bit from that book, and it felt like it kind of hurt me a little bit to see that some of the pages were torn and dirty and had been wet and stained, and I mean, yes, it's well loved, but it still kind of hurts, I guess. Anyway, so because of that, I didn't feel comfortable doing Wreck This Journal. That seemed to be a huge part of the books. Also, like, because of this, not wanting to stain the pages, like, doing watercolor in, like, a book like this feels a little bit wrong, which it shouldn't, because, I'm not actually ruining a thing. If I'm, like, in the same way that drawing in a book is fine, watercolor in a book is fine. Anyway, getting sidetracked. The imaginary journal of me is more of a written journal. There are parts where they ask you to cut out pictures and put it in, cut out things that you find in the real world and put it in, but it doesn't really feel like a requirement to do what the book is trying to get you to do. In Wreck This Journal, half of the point of the book is getting you to do all of those things to the book that you wouldn't normally do, to, I guess, step outside your comfort zone. And maybe for that, when I'm ready for that, that'll be a good thing. Right now, this is pretty cool. So, the imaginary journal of me starts off with a lot of talk about what utopia is. And actually, when I initially got this book, my thought was I would want to do one of the exercises in it with you. I'm not that far into it yet, so right now I'm not seeing a point where there's not really an obvious point where I can sit and write and do things and I haven't quite sunk into it yet. If I were to try and do a video as I was writing in this, I would either have to cut a lot or I would be sitting and pausing and thinking a lot. So I figure right now I'll do a book where I show you what I've pondered, what I've considered, and then when I'm at a more rolling pace with this book, then, you know, if you guys like it, I'll do something. Right now I just kind of want to show it off. So it starts off by asking you a few questions to try and gather an idea of what your world looks like. This is sort of like if you were to create a fantasy world that is, you know, like your personality in a nutshell, things that you like, things that make you feel comfortable, maybe a fantasy world that feels like it would be a safe space for you. So for some people, there are already fantasy spaces that make you feel that way. Some people feel totally at home in Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. They feel like they would totally fit among the elves, or maybe in the Shire with the hobbits. Or some people feel like they long to go to Hogwarts, and like, you know, they would love to go to Hogwarts and study magic, and that kind of environment would be just very comfortable for them. Just something aesthetically fits very well, aesthetically and in some cases ideologically. Or, you know, maybe Star Wars, the idea of becoming a Jedi, or, you know, Star Trek, the idea of having a place on the Enterprise, doing, you know, going boldly where nobody has gone before. It all really depends on the person. So this idea is creating your own world around this. So it starts by giving you a whole bunch of categories and asking you to write down things you love in each category. This one I actually tried to do on camera, but yeah, this was the one where I was like pausing a lot and was like, okay, how do I process this? A lot of this is stuff that you can't do on camera, at least for the first few exercises, and admittedly I haven't made it to like the meat of the book at the end yet. But you start with just getting an idea of what you like, and then later on it asks you to apply it. So the first one gives you categories. The second one asks you for a brief personal history. Who are you? Where are you from? Where is your family from? The third page is materials, where you collect and create a page of textures based on, you know, stuff you like, which, like, that one I haven't done yet because I'd have to stick things in the book, which I'm not there yet. This one, images, printing out pictures and sticking them, I'm not there yet either. I've sort of just done writing things. And then after that, it starts to ask you some questions based on, you know, gathering from that. So the first thing is you're going to begin in one small corner of your world. From this tiny beginning, great things will grow. Think of a space or place you really love. It may have been a place you've been, or it could be something you've seen a photo of. It should be a place that moves you more than most places. You should feel a little bit giddy when you think about it. So, you know, just a nice, comfortable space. Maybe you have a nook that you like to read in with, you know, a big comfy blanket and a book and a mug of tea. Maybe it's somewhere outdoors that you like, you know, strolling around through a park somewhere. Maybe it's your favorite corner of a library. Maybe it's at a coffee shop somewhere where you like to sit on your computer, somewhere you like to listen to music. Just somewhere where you really like to be, that makes you feel at home. It says, now leave this space and step outside. What is outside of this place? Maybe it's a street. Describe the street. So it sort of expands from there. And, you know, if you are having trouble filling in the blanks, you can go back to the beginning part where you had answered a few questions, you know, personal history, material, stuff like that. Maybe you have no idea what to call the street, and so you trawl through your list of words that you wrote down. And, oh look, mist. That's something I wrote down in one of my categories of a thing that I like aesthetically, mist. Maybe I'll call it Misty Lane or something like that. I don't know. And then you zoom out a little bit more. You develop the rest of your world piece by piece. You start with planning a landscape. What is it like around there? Are you in a desert? Are you in a forest? Are you in a city? Describe the weather. What's the weather like? Is it sunny all the time? Is it cloudy? Does it ever rain? Does it always rain? And they have a bit where they have a bunch of map symbols. You gotta make a map. Bridges and roads and water and trees. You can add your own map symbols in case you want to put new and novel things. I don't know. Water, trees, building, mountain, garden, pasture, meadow, bridge, railroad, road, boundary. I don't know what other map symbols you would add. I don't know, maybe if you were doing like a really like sci-fi kind of universe, you could have like I don't know, hover car road, or I have no idea. Anyway, I'm sure there are things. And then there's map space. There's write your imaginary bio. Include everything you would like to do as if it has already happened. If you have ever dreamed of doing something big, now is the time. List your credentials, skills, awards, accomplishments. Take on the qualities of your favorite people. You can choose to do this with imagery if you wish. Find images of things that represent what you would like to accomplish. List your secret identities. Create characters. Give them life. Name your world. There's so much here, and it's pretty exciting. Okay, so now I'm going to read the very first, yet still incompleted because I have like half a page and I want to at least fill it. The categories they gave you were books, movies, music, colors, materials, textures, smells, sounds, landscape, climate, weather, time period, eras, places, spaces, animals, artists, clothing, people, objects, play, toys, entertainment. Just anything you like, anything at all. So I started with like nature-y kind of things. Trees are a huge thing that I like. I like being surrounded in trees. I like forests. I like stuff like that. I like crunchy leaves. Fall is one of my favorite seasons because of the crunchy leaves. And unfortunately where I live there is only a short period of, a month, maybe a month and a half if you're lucky, between the times that the leaves are crunchy and the times that it starts raining, because it starts raining pretty quickly and then all of the leaves are wet and not crunchy anymore. And let's see, fog and mist. I mentioned mist, but fog and mist, there's just something mysterious. And with mist especially, because it's so dry where I live, I really like the mist. And in fact, I feel like I'm one of the few people who lives where I do who likes humidity. When it's humid, I find it kind of nice. Probably partly because it's so humid in India, where my family is from. And I feel like to some extent, like, my body does better with that kind of humidity. Like when it's dry out, my skin gets dry, my hair gets dry, and when it's humid, it's like, oh, my skin is so nice, my hair is behaving, it's so nice. So I like mist, I like humidity. I like it when it's overcast. You're starting to see a theme here. There's some extent of like cloudiness, not dark cloudiness. I like it when there's lots of sun outside, but like sort of a thin layer of cloud so that it's not like bright in your face sun, wind, like just breezy kind of weather. Especially when it's like kind of warm and there's enough wind to cool you down. I like dandelions. Sometimes they make me sneeze, but I still will pluck and blow on dandelions when I see them. Ever since I was a kid, I still do that. So, fashion stuff. I love ribbons. I don't use them in fashion as much as I used to, but I have an old video of mine where I show off a whole bunch of ribbons. I used to use them in my hair all of the time. I think when I first started this channel, my first few videos, I would have a different ribbon in my hair every video because my hair was always short and was trying to do something to make me look more like a girl. Boots. I love boots. Usually black boots, sometimes brown boots, but like big clunky lace-up boots. Victorian wear, I love. I'm a huge fan of, just Victorian era clothing, the big skirts, the sort of frilly, pretty, gorgeous dresses. Steampunk wear, sort of related to Victorian, although I like modernized steampunk as well. Sort of blouses and corsets, but still with the pants, because I think the hoop skirts are one of the main things that bug me about Victorian wear. So I like that steampunk, I can wear pants. Oh my gosh, I can wear pants. 50s, sort of vintage clothing. I like polka dots. A lot of 50s dresses. I find a lot of 50s polka dot dresses, and I love it. And I've talked about socks in the past, and I've talked about mismatching socks, but obviously that's not a thing you see on camera, but I like mismatching my socks. It's kind of quirky, but I like it, and it's fun. With regards to scents, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of flowery scents. I think gardenias are the only flowery scent that I've happened to really like. I tend to like sort of, I guess, watery scents, so the smell of the ocean. I love the smell of the ocean, and the smell of rain, or the smell of what's called petrichor, which is the sort of dust or soil after it's rained. Doctor Who fans, a lot of you know what petrichor is, or people who are just fans of obscure words. I like the word petrichor too, actually. Let's see. A lot of scents that are used in like incense or sandalwood I associate with incense a lot, and with India, the kind of incense that we would light at the temple. So I really like that. And in India, we also use a lot of sandalwood soap, so, that's kind of nice. And then garlic. I associate the smell of garlic with garlic bread, and I love garlic bread, so I love garlic. Let's see, running low on time. I don't know if I can make it through all of these, so I think I'll mention some highlights. Fairy lights. Speaking of highlights, fairy lights. That's a thing that I like a lot. I have a friend who strung up fairy lights, or Christmas lights, I guess you could call them. Like, in America, we're supposed to call them Christmas lights, but I think that implies that you're only supposed to use them for Christmas time, and they're just so pretty. They're so pretty, I want to use them all the time, and I kind of like the phrase fairy lights too, because they do kind of make me think of fairies. But anyway, a friend of mine strung up fairy lights or Christmas lights up in her room, like around her ceiling, and I really like the way that looks. Especially the kind of like dim light that you get from it. Let's see, I mentioned trees, so like the fact that I like wood, probably like dark woods, especially like my house growing up, we had a cherry table, and I really liked the sort of dark color of the wood on the table. I like, I like chalkboards. I don't always like the sound, but I like the way they look, I guess, and there's just the aesthetic of writing on a chalkboard. It's a little bit more aesthetically nice than on a whiteboard, even though chalk makes a squeaky sound that whiteboards don't really make. I like, fuzzy and soft things. Stuffed toys, obviously. I've mentioned that in my videos. Sometimes you can see the big fluffy crunch bar pillow behind me. I like glitter. It does get everywhere, so I might actually just like the idea of glitter. But it's so pretty. If I could have glitter in things without it getting everywhere, that would be great. I used to have a dress I really liked that had something sort of like glitter on it, except then I would sit down and get glitter on something and I stopped wearing it because it would get glitter everywhere. I like squids and puppies. I like tea. I like cupcakes. I like things that glow, things that are soft. I like old books. I like the shape of a heart. I don't know. I like t-shirts with witty quotes on them. I like the very vines on stone, or moss on stone, or vines on red brick kind of aesthetic. I feel like I should just go to England, honestly. Last time, a friend of mine went and visited Cambridge and saw an area that just looked very Hogwarts, and just said, Anisha, you just need to come here. It looks like Hogwarts. So maybe I just need to go to Cambridge or something. And I like stripes. And I like, I've already mentioned tea. What else? I like brains. Like anatomical figures of brains and hearts. Both the heart shape that's like this, which is not actually what a heart looks like, and the picture of what an actual heart looks like. So yeah, those are some of the things that I like off of this list. There is so much more in here. Teach a class. What is it about? What are some skills you would like to share with others? Write some books. Build a museum. Devise a menu. Begin a fictitious history. This is the sort of random acts of creativity, I think is a good way to describe it, that I really like, and I guess want to get into more of. I was having a conversation with my friend recently about becoming more comfortable with random creativity, like improv and stuff like that. And I think this kind of stuff is a good way to do that on your own in a way that isn't going to embarrass if you mess up. Some people, just say that the way to get good at improv is to just do improv, but if you're in front of an audience, it can be kind of daunting. So maybe practicing with something like this, where if you mess up, the only person who's gonna know is you. Starting there might be a good place to start. So, yeah. That's it for today, and I will see you guys next time. And let me know if you want me to do an exercise in this with you guys in the future. Alright, see ya.